Hey guys, what up? NedgyYGO here. Yeah, we're kind of in a weird place in the format right now where not a lot of big events are going on until July, in which case July we get some big support and things start changing a little more. But for the time being, I'd like to revisit this deck because I've had a lot of fun with it, and we're just gonna try to have more fun with it and just improve upon what we've already been practicing. And yeah, I'll explain a little bit about why I think playing decks like Chimera Fiendsmith make you a better player, as well as just kind of going into some of the card choices I put into the deck. And before we get into it, also like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Thank you for all the support. I appreciate you guys. Stay tuned because we will be doing a giveaway. We're going to try to do it this weekend. Like I said, stay tuned onto my account. We'll be trying to do it on our I'll be announcing it on the what do you call it, the post tab on my YouTube account. So I'll also be posting it on my Instagram. So if you're linked to that, I will be letting you know too. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. Let's make this profile nice and awesome. We are going to be playing 3 of the Nightmare Apprentice. Amazing card for the deck. Searches out your illusions and just inherent summon. Great level 6 body. Just a solid card, right? Had to get in QCR. You already know. Got to flex on him. So yeah, Nightmare Apprentice, solid card. Along with some more engine requirements here. 3 Mirror Sword Knight. I do think you need to max out on the engine requirements because they can be sometimes 2-card combos. Even though seeing 2 Mirror Sword Knight feels bad, you might get away with like cutting 1 and just like seeing the 2, but I don't know. I think consistency is what you want in the deck, and you can live with seeing 2 as long as you at least see 1, right? And then speaking of consistency, we are playing Cornfield Codal. Cornfield Codal, honestly, low key the best card in the deck because it searches any monster that mentions Chimera Fusion, right? So Codal you can kind of go crazy with and search Sword Knight, Gazelle, or your Fiend. Which is kind of crazy. Cole gets you to a lot of your stuff. It does play a droll, but it's whatever. We are playing the 1 Big Wing Performant, right? Also standard. The 3 Gazelle, King of the Mythical Claws. Gazelle, really good card as well. Probably one of the better normal summons in the deck. The only unfortunate part about this deck, honestly, is that it does take up some normal summons. So you got to be careful about what you're normal summoning, especially with Mirror Sword Knight, right? Preferably, I actually would maybe take Mirror Sword Knight out to 1 and just kind of live with trying to find the rest. But again, like I said, you'd rather just see engine rather than not see engine. And you can't afford it in this deck right now. So next up, your 3 Chimera Fusion. Also relatively standard. You can't live without it. You need your fusion spell to play the fusion deck. Crazy part about Chimera Fusion, it's like almost you're having 6 Chimera Fusion in the deck. And then we are playing the Holy Trifecta. You'll see why I'm choosing to main deck this in a bit, but the main reason is because I am playing a specific hand trap lineup, and I think the deck does need it. So for now, we're going to put those up there. A little higher, kind of out of view, but you guys still see it. And then like finish off the semi-engine, right? We're playing our Fiendsmith bridge package. So Sinister Necrom and Adjusted Gold. I think is just solid because you can easily bridge back and forth. 1 Paradise, self-explanatory. We think you can't live without it in the main. You need to play it in the main. Fiendsmith package here, right? 3 Engraver, 1 Tears, and 1 Lurie. Not too much to say about that. It's Fiendsmith, right? Like, you need to play it. And then the honorary Tract. I don't have Tract on me right now, but hopefully I'll be able to find it by tomorrow in this video. But yeah, the Tract obviously is included. And that makes it at 41. Now for the relevance for these guys, I will put them down here for the time being, just so now you can actually see them. We are going 2 Bell, 3 Fuelos, 3 Ash Blossom. Let me scoot those over. 3 Droll, and 2 Nib. So ratio explanations here for you guys is with Nib and Bell, at least in the moment, they don't completely stop your opponent most of the time. You need to pair it with something. So that's why I have it at 2. Fua and Droll can sometimes completely stop your opponent, which is why they're at 3. Ash is at 3 mainly to cover my opponent's Fua if I'm going first, along with, obviously it hits everything. And this kind of feeds into these guys, right? So tactics will punish if any of these if I get hand trapped. The cross out, because the deck, like if I see cross out, I'm not worried. I can play through almost anything if I see cross out, like, except for impulse for the most part. But we don't talk about impulse. Like cross out, I can hit the Nib, the Fua, the Ash, the Droll, whatever. Like the big important cards that I lose to. And then, call by is essentially making so I can't lose to Fua or Droll, essentially, right? So that was my theory in this deck list, and I think it's the correct way to build the deck is to, if you were playing these 3 cards, is you have to have this hand trap lineup. Now you could pivot and just be like, hey, I don't want to play this hand trap lineup. I want to play board breakers, in which case that's fine. But if you play board breakers, I will say you have to have very specific board breakers. Those being like Droplet and Book of Eclipse, which I am not playing in here for a very specific reason. It's mainly because targeting negation really isn't a big thing right now, and that's something that you should recognize when you're deck building. It's because Impulse is so good, and even though Imperm does exist, it's not like a huge thing. So, if you really are bent on wanting to play the Book of Eclipse, you could just, I don't know, like if you wanted to keep this lineup, you could probably pop out your bells, right? Like maybe just subtract the 2 bells and then just throw your Book of Eclipses in. But I like Bell enough, especially against Mitsu. So the extra deck lineup, we are going with the 1 Requiem, the 1 Close to Heaven, Sequence, Agnumde, and the GOAT, Desiree. Your pretty standard Fiendsmith engine here. Not going to say too much about it, but it's good to play with the deck because it synergizes so well. And then we are playing the 1 Chaos Angel, 1 Necrocrypt, 1 Duke, and this is getting into our fusions now. 1 Guardian Chimera, 1 Chimera, King of the Phantom Beasts, 1 Performit, and the other big Chimera guy. So these guys are great. You only really need 1 of in the deck. You just got to be careful if you're playing into like a cash tier deck. Be careful when you're hand trapping them or trying to get rid of them, because you will lose some of these guys. They'll have to decide which one they want to hit, but at the very least, you have 2 your Chimera names. So it's not the end of the world if they do unicorn you once, but don't let them unicorn you twice. And then our Super Poly targets. Yes, that's right. We are playing Super Poly, but not in the main, in the side. Sorry, this guy is not a Super Poly target. he's a send. But our Super Poly target's here, right? So in the side, we're siding Super Poly just because I think it's a really, really good, strong board breaker right now. Especially into Garura, or with Garura and your Earth Golem at Nixter. So having the ability to go Super Poly and get rid of 2 of their bodies, like just generally any 2 of their bodies on the meta board, is really strong. And I think Super Poly is worth the 3 card side in this case, because it makes the difference between just actually dying and not breaking their board versus being able to kill them that turn. So yeah, so I think Super Poly is just insane right now. One of the best board breakers at the moment. And then speaking of board breakers, we're playing the 1 Harpies just because back row hate, right? Just in case. You already know, don't need to talk about Lancia too much. Lancia is Lancia. Play 3 of Meows. I think Meows is important to talk about instead of the Chaos Hunter, because Meows, I feel like you want to draw more cards in the deck, rather than just try to stop your opponent. I think it's better to Meows a Malice player, to like have just lingering draws, and then just have infinite gas to play through your opponent, which I think is just the correct way to play the deck. I hate using the word correct, honestly, but in this case, I think it is proper to use a card that gets you more draws. In this case, I just think Meows is good. But play whatever you want. Play what you feel like is going to get your engine going. And then 2 Parelia, just because Parelia is also more draw card, right? Draw card fun. Make many play. And then 3 Mischief going first, because we need a little. I think we do need a little help against Raziel Mitsu going first. The end board is not that insane, but also you do probably want to side 2 of these and then 3 Lancia against Malice going first. Just because you do activate stuff from Grave, but sometimes it can get tricky and they can break through a lot of boards. But I think Mischief just is a game winner on itself. So yeah. But anyways, so that's it for the deck profile. Getting into why I think that playing a deck like this will get you to understand complex game states more. And now I'm not saying that this is the only deck that will let you and help you learn that. I'm just saying that this is one of the decks, right? So, example. If I'm in a scenario where I've built a board, or where I have, and this is just sequencing, right? This isn't really necessarily anything too crazy, but if I have, actually, let's not even say I have Mirror Sword Knight. Let's just say I have Codal, right? I have Cornfield Codal, her, and let's just say I have an insanely good hand trap lineup. Let's just say maybe double Fua, Nib. I don't know. Let's just say that's my starting hand, right? So normally your average player would try to keep playing through this, right? But your average player would be going in Codal Effect Search. Now, the proper way in this scenario with this hand is to anticipate an Ash. If they do not have an Ash, anticipate a Droll. If they do not have a Droll, you're free to play. Keep going, do whatever you want. Just anticipate a Nib, right? But if they do Droll you here, let's say you're searching probably most likely Mirror Sword Knight. You search your Mirror Sword Knight and they Droll you here. That sure you could go Mirror Sword in effect, but you're not doing anything after that. There's really nothing else to do there, except for bridging Fiendsmith stuff. But even then, it doesn't feel great. So personally, I would rather at least right now, I would rather just pass on this, because you have double Fua, which is still kind of insane, and you have a Nib in hand. So drawing in cards like Ash and other things are just extremely advantageous for you in this scenario. And especially if you double Fua them successfully, and they try to play through it, and you punish them with Nib, you're on full combo for next turn plus a draw, right? So if you think about it, just understanding game states like that, and being able to look at your hand and go, I'm probably not dying, and don't be scared of passing with nothing on board, because sometimes it is the right play, especially when you have Fua. So even though I don't have my tracked here, I'm going to do a test hand for y'all to see if we can kind of explain my thought process as to what route I'm going when I see a certain hand and why. And I hope you find these videos useful. They're really kind of just meant to show you my thought process currently in when I see a hand and what I'm thinking. Now it's up to you whether you want to take the advice and kind of follow the same path or not. But again, this is just my thought process. And if you find it interesting, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Okay. We are coming out with merch too, which is pretty cool. Okay, so first card, Lacrima, Engraver, Sword Knight, Necrom, and Ash Blossom. So overall, not terrible. Not a terrible hand. I can play through a lot going second. At least I have one interruption. And going first, I'm kind of protected by the Charmy with Ash. So that's nice. That's a nice plus. And as far as sequencing, how I do this hand, if I'm going first, most likely I'm going to try to bait out. Like, I want to get to my fusion first, right? So I most likely want to go Mirror Sword Knight Normal Summon effect. If they have the Ash, like, it's whatever. I just do Fiendsmith stuff, right? And then I'm like protected against a lot of that. So that's whatever. I don't really care about, like, if I lead with Engraver effect search, and it goes through and they droll me, it does no good to use this guy, which is why I'm leading off with him. So yeah, essentially you go Mirror Sword Knight. You can go Mirror Sword Knight effect, tribute to search, or to special, sorry. So you're gonna special out your Chimera, because you already have a Fiend in there, and then Gazelle, right? And you go Gazelle effect, search your Chimera Fusion, and then you can go Chimera Fusion, fuse off your Necrom and a Beast for Unga Bunga. Where's Unga Bunga? Here he is. Let's put him in here. Show off the shine, the pretty shine. All right. Yeah. So we make Chimera, and you can trigger Gazelle Engrave to search for a illusion monster, which is pretty ridiculously good. I usually go for Nightmare Apprentice because Nightmare Apprentice can also search your Codal. And then while you have this, like, obviously you chain block it with this, so they can't Ash that, even if they do have Ash. You add this back, you're ripping during end phase. And now you're kind of in the clear, right? Because you have an extender with Necrom Engrave. You're kind of free to just do whatever, even if they have Nib. It's, you don't really care, but you're kind of go for your Nib proof line here, essentially. So you can go Engraver effect, search your tract effect, add Luri, discard Luri, special Luri, make Requiem. You do your Fiendsmith line. You're going to end up in a scenario where you have probably Necrocrip on board along with Engraver, right? And here's where they have their chance to nib. And even though you have committed your normal summon and they have their chance to nib here, you're not dead. Like, you have a lot of really good ways to just get more bodies on board, right? So, for example, let's just say they do nib here, which, again, would be the correct spot to nib. And if they don't have droll, and they have Nibiru, which is why we're able to search this many times, right? If they have Nib, then you can just extend way past that. Sorry, Lacrima would also be Engrave, so you get that out of your hand. But you can extend by going like Necrom effect, right, from Grave to Banish, and especially your other evil hero, right? Just options. Whoop, sorry there. Woo. Just options, right? So you have your Sinister, or just a gold. You can also, especially this Nightmare Apprentice out with the Chimera Fusion, if you so choose. You've got like an interruption here. You can keep searching. Like there's a lot of options, right? Ideally, you want to have him, like, that name back on board. So the good play to do here probably is just go Chimera Fusion. And use these two. And this is past Nib, right? So then you can go Performet, right? And you already used this effect to Reborn, so you can't do that. So you just go Performet effect. And again, like, this is if you want to keep your Ash Blossom, right? I mean, you could save your Nightmare Apprentice for another body, but I like having the Ash in hand. Depends on the matchup, again. So you can send your Codal to Grave. And through Nib, you have like a big ass token that you can set. Requiem is going to be Engrave. So like this is through Nib, right? And this is they are ripping one from their hand during the end phase. You've got Requiem along with your Lacrima Engrave. So you've already got a Ascend with Desiree combo. So that's 1 interruption. You've saved an Ash for 2 interruptions. You've ripped another card from their hand, which is 3rd interruption. So they're down 2 cards. So they have 3 cards in their hand. They're starting with 4. And you have a targeting any card negation and a monster negation. So what was that? That was 1 interruption, 2 interruption, 3, 4. 4 interruptions with 4 cards left in their hand with Nib on board, right? So, and even if they go battle phase and crash over him in battle phase, you just reborn it with Gazelle. So, just really, really solid, I think, board, and the numbers line up. And that's even if they nib you, right? If they don't nib you, you're making an even better board through more interruptions. So, the math checks out. And that's kind of my thought process and why I think the deck's still really fun to play and how it helps think through kind of sequencing and how to make correct plays, right? I think making correct plays is really important, and just recognizing what cards you have in your hand and what you're able to do with them. So, yeah, if you guys enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe as always, and thanks for sticking around. Shinobi out. Catch you next time.